Podcasting, like any craft, often feels best when you get in the zone. Call it focus, if you like, but things just seem to flow better, unless you get too focused and lose sight of the bigger picture. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. I was in a zone yesterday, like for 7 hours, deep inside of a zone. Didn't even know the zone had taken me away from the world. Time was going by so quickly. You probably know what I'm talking about. You're doing something, you're in it, you're deep inside of the zone, and you just kind of lose sight of the world. Now, as a working podcaster, as I said, you know this, but me, as a podcaster who helps produce shows, like I have 24 clients I'm working with in different aspects, some on a regular weekly basis, some on a more ad hoc basis, some I've helped previously and they just use me whenever, which I guess is the same definition of ad hoc, Evo. Anyhow, that's a lot of things to keep in my head. It's a lot of things for anyone to keep in their head. And I know I'm not the only working podcaster that does this, that supports lots of other podcasts. Some support just lots of different shows in their own network. And it's important to try to work inside of the zone as much as you can, because you've got to fight all of the distractions that come at us from all sides. I mean, I wish podcasting was as simple as sit down in front of a microphone and talk. And I certainly try to make it that simple for my clients. But you and I know it takes a whole lot more. There's more to just talking into a microphone or editing an audio file. There's a lot of process that needs to happen. And again, that process happens best when you're inside of the zone. Keeping all those distractions out of your brain, keeping all those distractions away for a while, helps you consciously focus down and get something done. And again, when you're in that zone, things are effortless. Things are simple. Things are easy. You're just doing it. The way I help myself get in that zone for all the clients that I work with is I really structure my work week. Like today is Monday, and I won't work on any client-based projects today. Or if I do, it's very limited, dip in, dip out stuff. Because there's other aspects of running a business that I have to do, and that's what Mondays are for. Now, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are dedicated in the business stuff. That's my zone time. That's when I have headphones on almost all day, if in fact I'm doing audio engineering work. That's when I'm opening up spreadsheets and I'm running through numbers. That's when I'm pulling down different proposals and but making sure that we can get all of the work done in time. How's the strategy going to fit in together? That all happens in just those 3 days. But those are 3 very focused days when I'm in that zone. And then Friday is kind of a free-for-all. Sometimes Friday is working with new clients. Sometimes Fridays is trying to solicit new clients. And sometimes Friday is just taking some time off for me. That's how I help get in the zone. Mondays and Fridays are not zone days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays are deeply zone days for me. Okay, that's smart to establish a zone like that. But getting too deeply into a zone can be somewhat pathological, especially if you're podcasting one thing, if podcasting is your thing, if you really have a podcast more than you're a more broadly focused podcaster. Deeply focusing on one thing, it's easy to get into your zone. It's very easy to get into your zone. Unfortunately, it's also quite easy to stay in that zone, to be locked in that zone, to be myopic. Myopic? No, myopic. Where you're just too focused in on that thing and you lose sight of the larger world around you. You lose sight of all the things that are happening in podcasting, changing best practices, changing formats and thoughts and ideas. Getting into a zone is great, but once you start going too deeply, you zone out, which isn't good, and you lose sight of all the other activities happening around you. And this medium is moving fast. I did some really quick numbers last night for the presentation I'm about to do at Outlier Podcast Festival, Salt Lake City. And It's amazing how much things have actually changed. It's amazing how many brand new people are getting into this space, bringing in their new thoughts and their ideas, which are causing lots of things to change. And if you are so deeply into your zone that you've zoned out and you've been doing the same thing since 2012, since 2007, since 2004, you might have missed some of the activities going on around you and some of the changes, either to the standards or to the way you can produce products or what customers and listeners are looking for. You might be too zoned out. So try not to do that, because there's a lot of new things happening in the world. I just found out recently that Podcasting for Dummies, the book that I wrote back in 2005 with T. Morris, is now about to go into its 4th edition. And I was having lunch last week at our Phoenix Podcast Club meeting. It wasn't lunch, it was dinner, with Chuck Tomasi, one of the authors of the 3rd edition of the book. And he tells me that the 4th edition is coming out, and they want to chat. They, meaning T and Chuck, want to chat with me to make sure they've got the latest and greatest stuff in there. Because again, I do this all day long, full time. I'm much deeper into that. So it's sometimes good to check in with someone who might have a little wider experience, who might be more up to speed on what the current ways of doing things, just like these guys are doing. I doubt my name is going to grace the side of the book. I mean, I've already written a couple of those, and I don't know that I want to do that again, but it'll probably at least have a flavor of me inside of that new edition. So that's what I wanted to say today. Make sure that you find a way to get into the zone so that you are more productive in the things that you do, but also make sure that you can break out of that zone from time to time to observe the wider universe around you, because podcasting changes all of the time. One way that it changes is that you can now rate podcasts very simply by going to ratethispodcast.com/podpunt. That's how you do it for me. ratethispodcast.com/podpunt. Doesn't matter what app you use, doesn't matter what device you use, whether you're on mobile, you're on your laptop, doesn't matter. Just go to ratethispodcast.com/podpunt and see how easy it is to leave a rating for this show. And once you've done that, do the same thing for your own show. Well, don't rate your own show, but set up your own little, vanity URL. Kind of nice. If you thought this information was helpful, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/evoterra and, buy me a coffee. You can even set it up for monthly recurring donations so that you pass a little bit of money my way every month, because I don't charge for this and I don't run advertising on the show. And if you need assistance with your podcast, you can get in touch with me, evo@podcastlaunch.pro, or go to simplermedia.pro to see all of the services that we offer our clients. I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers!